An elegy begins to play, a proclamation of death, a sentence of rejection. No, not only. The melody carries a kind of timidity and lingering sadness. What echoes here is no longer an elegy. It is only a sigh. Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob and today we are gonna be continuing and finishing off the narration and character voice acting for the main story of Arknights, episode 13, aka chapter 13, The Whirlpool That Is Passion. So then, this is gonna be one heck of an episode. As you can probably also tell by the length of the episode, but truth be told, I was playing around with splitting this into one more part, considering I saw how much I already had at one point, but after a certain moment, or cutscene rather, I decided against that and just wanted to keep the flow in there. But obviously you don't have to watch this entire thing in one go, but just saying, there's a certain flow that might, at least in my mind, would have been a bit squashed if I would have split this into another part after this. But anyway, we have a long episode in front of us, so let's begin with the usual very quickly. First, for those of you who want to skip the rest of the intro, you know the drill. The timestamps are down below in the pinned comment, so you can already go forward if you don't need it. To anybody else who might be new to the channel and or is bumping into it through this very episode, first and foremost, welcome. Hope you enjoy your stay, and for anything, just refer to the description of the video for all playlists, links, and stuff like that, main story specifically, and especially if you're new to Arknights, in episode 1 or part 1 for episode 13, which I have specifically separately linked in the also pinned comment down below. In the beginning I talk a bit about what stories are connected and stuff like that to main story and how to main story and what options there are, yada yada. Just refer to the beginning of that video, and I hope it will be informative and you should be fine to keep on going. So thank you. And speaking of, guys, once again, thank you very much for all the support you have shown over the just course of time in general, but the main story recent episodes have been quite a banger on the channel apparently. I don't know what happened, but I am grateful that it happened, and so, hi. Welcome. I've seen a lot of new people come in as well over this past 2 weeks, so hi. Hope you enjoy your stay. And yeah, let's get this thing schmoving. But yeah, guys, thank you very much. Really appreciate all the support and the likes and the comments and all the stuff. All of that really helps, so thank you. And I like to communicate with you guys in the comment section as well, so, you know, benefits. But anyway, let us begin with the quick recap of the previous part, and then we move straight into our part for today. On the previous part, we began the story pretty much with Amiya still in a dream, or rather trapped by and talked by the myriad souls who are once again trying to get her to do what the King of Sarkas should be apparently doing. But once again, Amiya is telling them a firm and solid no. She has her own ideas and what she wants to accomplish, and they are not really in line with what the myriad souls want. After the dream is over, she awakens to find herself amongst the Doctor and Logos, and inside of a vehicle commandeered by other Sarkas who are going around repairing those Sanguinarch witchcraft circles that are thrown all over the place. But we, after that, switch venues to a new character. Magdalene, aka Operator, or Future Operator from this point in the story, Vendela. As we follow her point of view for quite a bit after that, as we explore the town of Brentwood and what is happening there. The town is occupied by the Sarkas, as we see. We see that she is working in a family-owned greenhouse, and that unlike the other people in the city, she has been left to do just that in the city, but everybody else seems to be working on the big Sanguinarch altar in the town center. The previous mayor, as we also learn, has been pretty much murdered by the Sarkas, as he was trying to do something else, but no one else in the city has died, and it seems to be thanks to the sorta very interestingly pacifist-oriented commander that is working for the royal court, who has also given permission for Vendela, aka Magdalene, to keep on working in the greenhouse instead of working on the blood altar. We also see that Magdalene is in contact with the Self-Salvation Corps, who she sneakily hid away in her greenhouse behind a door. That those two being Feist and Rock, who are there, they make contact with not just her but also the deceased mayor's daughter Freda, who gets into the greenhouse and surprises them all. But she will not, as she says, rat them out to the Sarkas, but says that they are fine as they are and should be left alone. After which the members of the Self-Salvation Corps just leave the city to regroup with their rest of their members who are outside of it. Sometimes later, we see the commander of the Sarkas in the city return from a battle, but he lost that battle apparently, and as he lost, it seems that he will also be replaced by someone else, and that someone else will not be having the same principles as him. As he comes up to Magdalene, who he seems to have a soft spot for, as he also let her just do her work in the greenhouse, and he pretty much warns her straight up that she should leave the city, and that there is a hole in the wall around the city that was blasted through by a recent skirmish, and pretty much just straight up tells her, hey, tomorrow we are gonna be closing it, you should leave tonight if you want to, or rather you should leave tonight. However, she does not comply with that, and rather makes contact with Freda as they start seeing the Sanguinarch, the Sanguinarch little bloodborne swarms appearing throughout the city, as the completion of the altar is near. And speaking of the completion of it, once it is done, the commander, or at this point I guess former commander of the Sarkas, approaches Magdalene once more just before the activation of the circle and warns her to stay with him until it is over. However, she senses danger approaching and wants to go and warn the citizens to evacuate the city as quickly as possible and get away from the altar as far as possible, but he holds her back and doesn't let her go and offers her a choice. He gives her a weapon, or presents her with a weapon rather, and tells her she will either kill him there, pretty much suggests to her directly, either kill me and go, or stay here with me. And she proceeds to do just that. She kills him and moves. She starts warning the citizens, but it is too late. The thing starts activating and goes and starts to pretty much drop everybody unconscious. But before that happens, Freda, who commandeered one of the cannons for the fireworks in the city that her father was hiding away, shoots the hole open once more that the Sarkas closed the other day to warn the citizens, and gets mauled and killed immediately by the Sarkas on the spot as quickly as possible as beautiful fireworks go up all around her. But it was enough. The Self-Salvation Corps notice what is happening and they hit the city as quickly as possible to evacuate as many people as they can. They find Magdalene and try to evacuate her, but get also into trouble. But then they themselves get rescued by the sudden appearance of the Exemplars. Siege and her team rush into the city with a tank. The tank operated by... and this is the funny one. This is kind of the funny one. The one who operates the cannons usually as the operator gets a tank. Figures. But Horn rushes in with a tank together with the rest of the platoon, and they start mopping up the Sarkas. Siege, on the other hand, rushes for the circle and starts hitting it. But even if they inflicted a lot of damage apparently to it, the altar goes up and activates. And a giant blood rune appears throughout the city. We then switch venues back to our team with Amiya and the Doctor and Logos as they're on approach to the city. They see what is happening from a distance and are approaching on foot as they are encountering the sanguinarch little spawns and minions. They also run into our mercenary trio who are just about there as well, considering they've been in the vicinity anyway. And together with them they go into the city and pretty much regroup with everybody who is present. All of our protagonists are essentially now in one spot as we left them last time, and we left them pretty much with Kal'tsit, presenting us with the question if we are aware of why the Sarkars are so susceptible to Oripathy itself, or rather Originium itself. And on that note, let's continue. So then, as I said at the beginning, this is gonna be the rest of the story, which means from stage 16 where we left off last time all the way to the end. Please ignore that I didn't finish these completely. These are a pain. I just wanted to do them to get the texts from them, so I did. And speaking of, considering these stages are done, all of this will also be included at the end of the episode, but at the end of the episode. Or rather, not at the full end of the episode, but rather when we are done with stage 21, we're gonna go over all of these, the collection of stories in here, or postcards in here, and then finish off with the final cutscene. With that said, let us begin on stage 16. Stage 16 has a before and after scene, so we are gonna be splicing them together just for the better flow of the moment. And then we are going to be introducing the new enemy that appears here. So then, stage 16, titled We lap at our wounds in the ruins. We seek a new direction in our duress. Sometimes I think that if there really is a creator responsible for these lands, he's one cruel bastard. He came up with a really awful disease, where you feel your body being consumed, gradually being replaced by these crystals, helpless to do anything to stop it. You can feel your very self being removed from your body, day by day. You can only accept it. We can only accept it. And this creation of Oripathy is actually one of the gentler ones across the lands. The infected and the uninfected, Nine tells me our persecution is as old as civilization itself. So, what about poor and rich, slave and noble, foreigner and local, disabled and able-bodied, even abnormal and normal? A parasitic disease is scary, sure, but Oripathy is only the most obvious, the most prominent of the terrible diseases out there. The creator's really awful inventions are poverty, war, bottomless, insatiable greed, the malice and hypocrisy that brings so much suffering, gaps we can never close. But the truth is, we all know, no creator came up with that stuff. Humans, we invented it all on our own. You and me, we created them. Good news or bad news? The good news is the workshop is still intact, the forest hit it good. The Dukes and the Sarkas never got to use it as an outpost. The bad news is, someone's living there, we saw lights. I walked up, identified myself, and the lights went out. Might be refugees or deserters. But they put out the lights. That means they are wary of us. Our fighters are ready for anything. No, let's not be hasty. They might just be cautious or fearful. Don't jump to conclusions. And anyway, Red's carrying a pretty long blade. Anyone would want to play it safe. Why don't I go? I'll have a word with them. By yourself? That's enough. The more men we send, the more nervous they'll be. Besides, if they mean us harm, a few more hands won't make a difference. The sky to the south has been red for the past few days. Percival and the others even found an art circle. We need to move fast. There's some risk in that. I know. But we made it out of Chernobog. Fair enough. We'll be ready to provide support on the sidelines to make a breakthrough. This place was some kind of distillery before the Victorian reunion settled in. I can already smell the booze. Romanich would have loved it. It certainly was a distillery. Secret distilleries like this are common enough in Victoria, dodging around punishing taxes imposed by the lords. They could be used to make crude medication for the infected. Soaking, mixing, distilling herbs would work, but purification? No way. I'm starting to admire the Victorian reunion. They found this place and turned it into a distribution center for medicine. When did they start calling themselves Reunion and build all this? I'm not sure. All I know is that the building is just an old house covered in vines now. No movement around, no lights in the house. A figure flashes by the window. Red was right. There are people here, and they've spotted me. I dust off my clothes and fix my hair, trying to look more presentable. Hello? Anybody home? No answer. Hi, I'm Guard. I've got a team nearby. I am pretty sure you saw them earlier. Don't worry, we mean no harm. The Victorian reunion used to use this workshop to make medicine. It brought hope to a lot of infected around Londinium. Its medicine even circulated among the workers in the sewers below the city's industrial districts. Whoever you are, you know the war is turning a lot more people infected. We want to get things going here again, to help them. Since you're occupying the place, we need your cooperation. We can provide medicine or other supplies. We'll trade fair. Still, no response. The doorknob turns and I grip the hilt of my sword. After everything we've been through, I know it's pretty likely I'll be staring down a pitchfork or hatchet next. I'm numb to that sort of thing now. The door opens. Reunion, you said? Your coats? Who are you? Mace. Come in. There are more people hiding inside than I guessed, and it's quite a group. Some of them are obviously infected, while others leaning against the wall are probably ordinary refugees from the city. They're all looking over, silently, watching me and the woman in the Victorian uniform. Look away and clear out. The crowd falls back, and Maze leads me past their collective gaze. These people are terrified. Are you in charge here? This place is under my control. Let's find a place to talk. Victorian reunion. Percival is in Victorian reunion too. Our organization doesn't exactly have franchising procedures, and once word of the name spread around, the reunion flag started popping up in all sorts of places. That also means there have been various acts of violence, acts of revenge, taking place under the reunion name. The kind of thing that happened in Chernobog. I started looking at this Maze. She seems nervous. Her gait is unnatural. We're in the deepest depths of the workshop. Here we are. Nobody comes in here. So your reunion, the real reunion, you came from the north? From, Ursus? Yes, Ursus, Columbia, and now we're in Victoria. That's a ways. Your uniform, it's a... I used a bad sheet. I ran into a group from Ursus before. They said you dressed like this. I think I got the emblem right. Looks a bit big. Did you come here just to mock my handiwork? So you control this place just because you dressed up in the garb of the infamous reunion? Let's get to the point. I don't have much time. You want to get this place up and running again? To start making medicine? Yes, if news got out that Reunion is running the place again. No. Things are more complicated than you know. We have all kinds of people here. I'm more about breaking up the daily fights between the infected and uninfected. And you want to make infected medicine? You might as well blow the place up. It's hard to keep a balance between them. You're Reunion, aren't you? At least you claim to be. More or less. Who are your people? What else would they be? Homeless infected, war refugees, people who have lost everything. We all need a roof over our heads. I first came here with a few other infected. We found this ruin. Later, more people came, including some less than honest folk. We don't take anyone else in anymore. I'm glad to see you, Reunion comrades, but I don't want to worry anyone here. Worry? That you're conspiring with us to wipe out the uninfected in our midst. Whether or not it's just a pretext to get us to open our doors to you, we can trade supplies, but let's leave it at that. There are plenty of uninfected here, so I get what you're saying. But I still think it would be a good idea to talk it over with your people before you come to a decision. As long as we can get back to making medicine here, we can come to a long-term agreement. No, no thank you. Now, off with you. It was nice meeting you. If you want to take this place, you're welcome to it, so long as you can take it. I can't see her expression behind the mask. Maybe she's just bluffing. Alright then. But I turned around, nevertheless, getting ready to leave. Hey, Reunion! Yes? Is Tallulah with your group? She is. Another Tallulah worshipper? Sure enough, she's her banner, and that's her cage now too. I hear she has a nomadic city. Does that city of hers only take infected? If you haven't been infected, are you allowed to go there? I've heard, from the passing caravans, I've heard it's a nice place. There's some people here in less than ideal positions, refugees from the wilderness, orphans without a single relative. Talk of that Reunion city has everyone full of hope. But, you only stand with the infected, right? A city? There might be a misunderstanding here. Maze, do you know what they did? Did you tell him to do it? Have you gone mad? What are you talking about? Those idiots! He might have been a fighter in the war here, or some big important figure here to doom us all. We might just be a couple of hours for a battalion of Sarkas coming in here to wipe us out! What's going on? Are you with Reunion like Maze? It was you! Your people! Those infected, they killed the Sarkas in the warehouse! Bollocks! He was infected too. He's going to explode, right? We need to deal with him. I'll take a look. Go, quickly. You should be able to help. On the ground lies the corpse of a Sarkas. I know this guy. The Sarkas who rode a motorbike. He was a junkman, going around selling stuff he took of the dead. He was clearly beaten to death, limbs twisted up in unnatural ways. His hands are tied. He must have tried to break free, judging by his bloody wrists. The gathered crowd is mostly silent. I feel a chill, leaving me briefly speechless. He's dead. The Sarkas aren't so strong. Here, the medicine he had on him and some stable bread. The one who did the killing doesn't look well. He indifferently breaks off a piece of bread and hands it to someone beside him. He deserved it. Someone spits on the ground. One of them notices me, approaching me while chewing a piece of bread taken off the dead man. You're with the Reunion, aren't you? Maze never told us how we could join you. I remain silent for a while, calming myself down. I lower his hands for him, spotting the Originium crystals growing on his arm. Why did you do it? Did he threaten you? Try to hurt you? Huh? Why? It's as if he suddenly loses interest, stumbling over to a nearby crate and taking a seat. When the Sarkas burned our farm and humiliated my daughter, did anyone ask why? He wasn't a soldier, he wasn't a murderous devil from Kazdal, he was just a wandering hawker, selling his wares on the battlefields. He even helped you? Huh? What does he mean? Was he Reunion too? I am Reunion. You lot must know what it is Reunion fights for. Sure, you're fighting for all the infected. This man that you tortured to death, the one who never even got a chance to share his name, wasn't he an infected? But he was Sarkas. Medicine and compassion cannot help the infected in a way that matters, but solidarity and strength can. Solidarity. Solidarity. Infected have no homeland. We share the same fate, the same sorrow. These people don't understand. They've never thought about it. But what about us? Will the veterans from Ursus on the team treat the infected from Casimir as well? Can Sancta infected coexist with Sarkas? Even at Rhode Island, What about the future? If we succeed one day and the Emperor of Ursus vows to stop massacring the infected, if he agrees to grant us land and cities, in this beautiful, seemingly impossible future, will Reunion, will the infected start killing each other? Will they fracture, collapse, and give them another chance to butcher us? Hey, guard, his corpse, it's glowing, he's about to disintegrate! I had no idea his condition was so serious. Or did he really not leave any medicine for himself, trying to save money for some future that would not be his own? Get out of here, now! Run! Run! Maze, how do you process the infected here? That room, the innermost one. Hurry, we have to throw him in there. Damn it all, I need a second protection for the nose, mouth and wounds. Maze and I lift the Sarkas' corpse and kick open the door. Upon opening it, my personal Originium monitor started beeping incessantly. I've never heard the alarm going so intensely before. Just how many infected were processed here? Every inch of the room is covered with a thick layer of Originium dust, crystal clusters forming in the corners. Danger is no longer sufficient to describe the urgency of the situation. I don't know when things are going to get out of hand for this place, but putting a disintegrating infected in there is definitely not a good idea. No good. Move! Move! What are you doing? Why is the body... There's still a bunch of Originium in here. How many infected have been processed in this room? Well, it was years they were being processed in there. There is Originium dust in the air. The place won't survive a violent disintegration. Get everyone out, now! What? Don't you get it? The Originium environment here is extremely unstable. The place could blow at any minute. So we leave? And go where? Everything out there is... There's no time. We're talking about Reunion here. They have an entire bloody nomadic city. Run! Get them all moving! I've contacted some of our teams on the outskirts. They'll take some of you in. There's still some booze left in the distillery. If there's an explosion, the whole place is going with it. And that... Hey, Maze, where are you going? The woman dressed in a Reunion uniform is struggling with the machinery in the deepest depths of the workshop. What are you doing here? Help me pull that lever! Did you work here before? But you're not infected. Thanks for exposing me. Pull harder! Where did you get that Reunion outfit? This used to be a Reunion base. And so many died here. Don't test my patience. I didn't do anything. That's what they all say. I was a worker here. That Reunion lot took over the distillery, and I needed hands to run the machinery for them. It's just the mercenaries hired by the Lord attacked, and I ran. I'm not infected. Why should I here with those Reunion? So why did you come back? Why? Because I had nowhere else to go, damn it! What other reason would I end up trading my life for a secret distillery? I'm not infected, but sometimes I feel like I'd rather be with Reunion. At least they have something to fight against. They have a purpose. Pull harder! It's stuck! First, open the switch for this unloading port. Reunion left behind a whole lot of material. The doctor said this was the cheapest painkiller formula. They were working on it for a long time. It only relieves pain, but that's enough, right? With this, can I be a genuine part of Reunion? That is, I might be allowed a home in your nomadic city? A nomadic city? I take a deep breath and throw out a kick. It makes me sore. The lever finally loosens. The machine comes to life. The giant hopper tilts to one side, and what falls out of it is countless petals. She hurriedly picks up the herbs scattered across the ground and carefully piles them in her arms. If I don't consider where exactly I am, I feel like this could be a beautiful sight. Just like that city. We don't have a city. But those Reunion guys all said... but you... But... Well... I mean... A nomadic city... A city, you know, we... People without a home. People with nowhere to go. The infected across the world are growing more and more numerous. It's not that the disease is becoming more virulent, it's just that the world is becoming more cruel. The great worthies have so much to say about the modern era we live in, an unprecedented era of high-speed battleships, nomadic cities, of industry. How enlightened our era is. How tragic our era is. Stand together. Can the infected really stand together, naturally? Who do we stand with? Is it just the infected? That nomadic city we're dreaming of, does it have a place for them? Is a city enough to accommodate everything? Take the herbs. We need to leave. There is no application to join Reunion. If you're willing to fight side by side with us, you're already Reunion. But I'm not infected. It's not only the infected who want to resist. And besides, I need you to help me figure out who killed that Sarkaz man. They need to be punished. Now come on, let's go! We make our way quickly through the gigantic tanks. Some places have already started collapsing. The air is full of the pungent scent of alcohol, with smoke floating in from somewhere. This workshop, where the Victorian Reunion began, is about to go up in flames. We're almost there! Quickly now! The waves of intense heat hit. May struggles to stay standing. The herbs in her arms are lifted by the hot air. My... Above our heads roars the sound of buckling metal. Well, alright. I pushed her away. Then I jump up with all my strength and gather up the petals. I'll collapse. It's hot. The sun is burning. I'm burning. Is that the exit? A few steps further. But they're watching behind me. Those eyes. Are they judging me? Or just judging my insignificant death? What did they expect of me? I can't think about it. I can't. Maybe I'll let them down with their deaths. They should hope for a more meaningful end for me. Like, I don't know, dying on the steps of the palace in Deity Griffenberg? Anyway, not here, not dying for an uninfected woman I just met, holding some broken petals in my arms. How could I face them here? But I still need to face them. Take them and go. The exit is right ahead. Don't lose them this time. I might have crushed some of the petals. Give them to a woman named Nine. She knows what to do. Don't dawdle. Move. It's hot. It burns. I remember the afternoon when I first learned I had oropathy. What was it exactly that caused my infection? I still don't actually know. Maybe it was the time I fell in the river and something scratched my leg. Might have been a active originium crystal instead of a rock. Maybe it was the dust I inhaled in the mines. Maybe it was the industrial waste from the factories. Maybe. But when I got home, the smell of smoke in the room hadn't dissipated. My luggage was packed and placed on a table where we usually ate together. I found a salt lick, but I wasn't lucky. Maybe I chose the wrong place. There was no boat at the time. I owe a lot to the Rhode Island operator who came over and talked to me when I was sitting by the lake. I'd read Percival Tallulah. I'm not sure I'll be burned to cinders by the time you find me, but I hope this record survives. You ask, are we fighting for all the infected? Whether they're despicable, upper class, or even royalty? Or are the people we unite with the people we want to fight alongside? Only the infected? Only them? When I was still in the LGD, I used to spend my afternoons going around the city. I knew very well my duty, what I was expected to fight against. We wielded law and order as our weapons to curb chaos, resolve disputes, fight crime, and right wrongs. Back then, I thought people were just so easily corruptible. All of us are born pure and without flaw, but evil creeps in with age, like how mold corrodes every branch and leaf on a plant. I used to think this land could be rid of evil, if we were strong enough, selfless enough. I held that belief until I became infected, until I went to Lungmen slums. And I realized that justice is even weaker than men are. When mutated plants grow from dirty soil, are the flowers in the greenhouse qualified to critique their twisted forms? Do they have the authority to cut off their branches? There is no way we can talk about the same kind of justice until we share the same soil. Hurry! Get everyone out of the building and as far away as possible! My stuff's still inside. It's all my family has. What stuff? Pillows and a mattress. The last of the belongings I took from my home. Are you mad? Follow me to the back where it's safe. You haven't gotten infected yet, right? Better count yourself lucky for that. The crowd's so chaotic. There's so many people running out from there, we don't know who's infected and who isn't. And there might even be some wanted fugitives among them. We don't know where they even came from. And this fire, we're not far from the battlefield. Who knows what kind of attention we'll attract. We could leave right now. We're not responsible for this fire. 9, make your decision. People are screaming, crying, falling into the mud and crawling back up to their feet. The fire burns a rosy red behind them. It was an infected who started the fire. Some infected exploded, so the distillery... What's that got to do with us? Wasn't it you, Lord, who brought the suckers here? Not us. It's all because of you, infected. We could have hidden here for so much longer if it weren't for you. What the bloody hell did you just say? Did you already forget who took you all in? You dare strike me? You... Enough! Incessant bickering. Endless verbal abuse. If you don't want to move, I can send you back into the fire. Reunion. You and Maze are the same gang. If it weren't for the infected, if it weren't for you, infected. And what if it weren't infected? Open your eyes. We're not the ones who caused you to lose everything you owned and made you huddle together in an abandoned distillery with nothing but the clothes on your back. We're no different, except for the stones on our bodies. We had everything taken from us by this disease, but you haven't experienced how hard it gets, and yet here you are in the same wretched plight as us. But what do you know? Ever had a finger chewed off by a machine on the assembly line? Been thrown out of a factory? Had your house burned down by some lord? You yell about the injustice you suffer, but you're not the only ones who live unfair lives. The Viscount who burned down my home? Everyone says his son actually has a ripathy, but so what? A bigwig like him can just send his son to a fancy hospital in Colombia. But us? Me? He burned down my house with my 2 children inside it, just because I couldn't pay my taxes, just because I talked back to him. And no one dares to care, because he's high and mighty while I'm disabled and poor. You're not the only ones enslaved by your fate. Why does it seem like you're the only ones who can actually stand up to those bullies so brazenly, and even kill them? Why? Because we don't want to remain enslaved in those chains. No one ever said you couldn't fight against it. There's no way I could do that. I don't have your Originium arts. Don't make excuses for yourself. It's not like every infected comes with powerful arts. 9, we're already grouping up. Are we evacuating? Tell Red to bring a few of his men to monitor our surroundings. The battlefronts near us are currently at a deadlock, so the warring parties might be unable to spare any manpower to inspect a distant fire. Percival, help me calm the people down who just escaped, and get their names as you examine and provide medical treatment. We'll stay here for 1 more day, at most, to be safe. I got it! I'll help. I'm familiar with burns and respiratory blockage. Oh, we haven't been able to contact Guard yet either. We're not sure if he made it out. Don't worry, I'll find him. We both made it out of Chernobog after all. 9. The concentration of Originium dust particles. I was already rushing towards the burning distillery. I've entered a scene like this before, back in Londinium, multiple times. As an LGD officer and as a slum resident. Fire means loss, and also destruction. I always see tears falling upon charred remains. Sometimes they're from infected, and other times they're regular citizens. And at moments like these, rumors will spread through the spectating crowd. The casualties were a few infected, or perhaps they were regular citizens. Maybe it was an infected exacting revenge on his neighbors who had harassed him. Or maybe his uninfected neighbors were fed up with all these sick people hiding just next door. But no one has ever questioned why fires uptown are always extinguished as soon as possible. While the big blazes destroy several buildings and cause an unclear number of casualties always happen in the slums. I burst through the distillery's doors, and I witnessed a portion of the building fiercely collapsing not far from the exit. A single hand extends from the metal and debris, holding onto Guard's recorder. Or are the people we unite with the people we want to fight alongside? Only the infected? Only them? We infected are just the culmination of all the decay there is. We gather as one because of our shared experience. But what unites us is not just disease. Let's say we meet a noble abusing his power to exploit the people. How would we treat him if he was actually an infected? We can't use our infection as our sole criterion and slogan. Our companions must share the same belief. We will not only retaliate against the humiliation we've suffered, but also liberate the same people who have caused us pain. We're not the only ones enslaved across the lands, so we should stand with them together. We need to get them to stand with us. We can't just fight against disease. What should we actually be fighting against? What are we building here? This is followed by a rustling sound for a moment. Many years ago, when I just became an infected, I really loved drinking. Back then, Ace warned me that if I carried on with that hobby of mine, I'd die with my drink someday. And here I am, in a distillery. Nine, you've replayed it so many times now. I know. Tallulah, I've been wondering, if we really did manage to build a city for the infected, what would it look like? Are you sure it wouldn't be a hospice at its core? All we do in that city is to wait for everything to be covered in a blanket of disintegrated originium dust, for our deaths to come one by one. Yes. We can't just wait for our ends to come like this. 9, Tallulah. What is it? I'm thinking of leaving your group for a bit. Yesterday I met some people among the refugees who escaped from Londinium. They mentioned some matters I'm very concerned about, that maybe someone I've been seeking this whole time is still hiding in there. So I'll be heading over. Londinium isn't safe at all right now. I think Tallulah already told you about me. You're a long-lived. Yes. There's no way for me to die. I've become more and more sick of this reality of mine. You want to kill yourself? How did you get your longevity in the first place? Longevity? How did I first come to realize the joke that fate played on me? I had my fair share of happy days too. I came to know the one and only wife I've had children, a family, devoted my heart and soul to Originium arts research. Of course, I was the primary focus of my studies. My children grew up while we grew old. Everything was going as natural order of things. Until my wife died in an accident. War broke out, and I was forced to leave my children. I suddenly realized in the years I spent as a refugee that I hadn't changed at all. The Emperor started a war, a king was hanged years later, and then the Duke's conspiracies came to light. Afterwards, the Sarkas. I didn't change a single bit in all those years, until today. I have nightmares every day, and in them I hear a voice I don't recognize, or maybe it's every voice I recognize calling out to me together. Pain makes you live forever, and only happiness can kill you. Actually, I was already aware of this early on, but what can I even do to feel happiness and relief? Especially after witnessing death after death, and experiencing tragedy after tragedy. We're in an era of suffering and despair, so I shall go look for those hiding behind the curtain. I have no right to make you stay, but there is no need to say your goodbyes so quickly. If you wish to return to the nexus of the war, we might not have to go our separate ways. Is that so? I thought you would return to Columbia after gathering up enough hands. Running to another place will never put a stop to anything. Fair enough. Perhaps the foe we're facing are fundamentally similar. Also, leave a bouquet of flowers for Guard on my behalf. I will. Nine. Percival, you... I'm fine. I just got some smoke in my eyes. We're done registering the third batch of infected, and all 7 of them have gotten medicine from this workshop before. They told me many infected used to gather and live in a tiny village near this forest to access the workshop.
When the workshop was destroyed, most of them left or died, but some still remained close by. They were all drawn here by the huge blaze. Indeed. I look at the petals given to me by the person they called Mace. The reunion doctor here spent their life here for these herbs, and according to her, Guard also died for them. I recognize most of these plants. The infected used to chew them for pain relief before modern pharmaceutical companies were a thing. Perhaps the effectiveness of our crude drugs can improve by referencing these, even if just by a little. We can't simply wait for our end, watch ourselves wither away. There's more work to be done. Guards, we didn't manage a clean conclusion on our last discussion, but I have to make a decision on my own now. 9. We want to hold a little farewell rite for Guard, and it won't take much time to do so. Right. I'll make some flowers bloom here. The enormous blaze burns throughout the night. We finally abandon our efforts to recover Guard's body. Red finds a beautiful sturdy tree, its trunk perfectly pointing up toward the sky. He digs a hole and buries the cute towel of Guards in it. Flowers grow around the freshly dug soil. The floral pattern on the towel were too crude. A garden like this suits him better.
I'm done questioning everyone that came out from the workshop. The Sarkas who died in the underground warehouse, the one who rode the motorbike. He was murdered by a few infected Victorians. They were driven out of their homes by the Sarkas. Some of them lost their loved ones too, so they felt rightfully furious, and I calmed them down a little. What's the plan?
Back in Ursus, everyone used to think it was through the power of unity that Reunion managed to fight together with the patrol units, taxmen, and mine guards. That wasn't the case. We simply had no other choice left to break the knife pointed at our throats. Reunion used to act on our enmity, but our targets of hate have both become increasingly vague and broad. The infected have no homeland, no identity, no bloodline. We can't just carry on with just a provocative slogan. We need to set clearer guidelines and principles. Guard and I discussed about this before. He said to ignore the infected in positions of power because they still enjoy exploiting others with their authority and see disease as only a tool. And that we should also grant the same kind of liberation to any oppressed people, and not just our sick brethren, because they can fight alongside us and will need their strength to put up a fight. Chernobog has taught us enough.
He was always thinking so much about this. I thought he could really take us to achieve some great feats.
He will, even if he is dead. He merely died when he was still seen as insignificant and deplorable.
What about those murderers?
People who violently vent their grievances unprovoked cannot join us. It was war that turned them to brutality, even if they were just Victorians before. If we let this slide, what will happen to our group next? Ursin, Columbian, Victorian, Lithanian, Feline, Pero, Liberi, Caprine, Sarkas. Power should be distinctly directed towards a common goal, then become cracks of resentment that give others a chance to dismantle us from within. Buldracasti and Ursus should have taught us this lesson. They will be banished. They will have to find their own paths by themselves. Reunion will make sure of it.
I understand. I'll relay that to everyone, and I'll handle those murderers too.
Tallulah, there's an infected I used to know who comes from a eminent lineage and held a distinguished position. But she threw it all away. in her quest for fairness. You know her. Everyone here has heard of your ideas. Reunion's earliest vision, exaggerated, distorted. But what we want is not a nomadic city for the infected. What we want is to send a message to all the aristocrats and oppressors, those trying to divide, suppress, and eliminate us. The blade they so despise hangs high above their necks. Our goodbyes have already been said. This isn't the first, nor will it be the last. Let's go. Our work in Victoria isn't done yet.
Man, what to say there? Well, all I can say is I was expecting something to happen to our guy here, to Guard, considering how we started on, or rather how we started with him in the beginning of this chapter. However, I was not expecting it to happen during this very chapter. I thought they're gonna be building up this moment with Guard, or whatever is gonna happen to him in the next chapter, but it happened sooner than I was expecting. But yeah, what else to say? One of the characters that was technically with us since the very beginning of this story. A member from Ace's squad. Now also gone. Rest in peace, buddy. You lived long enough, at least to get a face reveal. But man, really? They gave him a face, and then this. Well, like I said, we do have an enemy here to add, so let's do that and move on. The new enemy here is the Sarka's Blood Nexus. And it says a very special entity within the Crimson Court, ensuring that each strand of blood weaves the decrees issued by the Regent of the Royal Court. They collect the essence condensed from the blood spilled on the battlefield and wait for it to be returned to the cycle of slaughter through the ancient rituals of the vampires. Alright, and we move on to stage number 17, titled Someone Speak Your Mind. And it says, be sincere as we communicate. Be honest as we enter the fray again. This one only has a before scene, so let's get to it. Since our scrap with Ursula, they've tightened the fence around that cave. W and her bombs helped us get out once, but that may not work a second time. We haven't been able to get close again, but I'm sure the drifting bones haven't returned yet. That is, I was sure until we all had the same dream. The ash-bleached city engulfed in flames, the shattered walls, the charred corpses piled in every corner. The city did not leave the dream until we opened our eyes. The flames trampled every settlement, every clan. The place we called Kazdel no longer exists, only fire and ruin remain. The despairing giant knelt down and wept. An unknown Sarkas in this dream, speaking in ancient Sarkas. The king of Sarkas is dead. The king killed the king. Why? This should not be. Our city, Kazdel. This would be a curse engraved upon the crown. This would be the beginning of the end of all. That Farenmut has returned. Tomorrow morning, the attack begins. Siege and her exemplars will be responsible for the perimeter, Us, the Rhode Island Rabbit, and the Banshee have to get deep into the way station.
Where's that old bitch Calcit? She's sending us off on this suicide mission without making so much as a cameo appearance.
Her injuries have not yet healed. Ascalon will look after her and the doctor. They will stay behind. Rhode Island recently came under Confessarius attack. They were trying to take the Bunny's crown.
The crown. Hodderer, you didn't tell the Victorians the truth. If your plan works and we go back to Kazdel, what are you gonna do? Even your new Victorian friends are probably not gonna be okay with you bundling war criminals in, with Sarkas caught up in the war. Don't tell me you vowed to bring the Sarkas home but never thought through this little problem. Like, are you gonna head off to teach a class on historical reflections to this bunch of grunts dragged off the battlefield in that Kazdel basement university?
No. Maybe I'll start a literacy class there. Make sure future Sarkas have fewer illiterates like W here.
Huh? Do my ears deceive me? Did Hodder actually make a joke out of Venus's words? On such a serious topic? What happened? Did sucking up to General Manfred teach you a little emotional intelligence? War's over. Back to Kazdel. Real funny. We're actually fantasizing about this stuff here. We're mercs, and that's all we're ever gonna be. You're such a lovely Captain Aeneas. Maybe you could run off to Leithani and become a governess for some hoity-toity nobles in a big tall tower. You could teach... let me think. How to keep your hair nice and silky in a war zone? How's that sound? Not interested. What are you daydreaming about? The battle's about to start.
No, I just... Ines' gaze shifts down to my feet ever so slightly. He is looking at my shadow again. What is it showing? I don't know myself. I'm rarely so calm before an op. Calm gives me a chance to think about all sorts of things. A few trivial things. I remembered you said you wanted to open a shop in Kazdel.
Because I didn't have a place to fence stolen goods at the time.
Oh, yeah. How about we use the first round of tuition from my literacy class for your startup capital?
I doubt that class is gonna earn you much. On the other hand, kidnapping a Lithanian governess could fetch a decent ransom. Gotta be at least as much as 10 merc heads. Let's talk about it when we make it home for real.
Yeah.
Your mental state has me worrying if you can really handle this mission. Did those illusions or the art circles drive you mad?
Maybe they did. In this moment of extreme calm, some tendrils of unease irritate my heart, causing hesitation. Amid my own surprising thoughts, I find the reason for my anxiety. I'm worried they won't accept me because of some of my ideas. But I have to speak. The arrow is knocked.
Pay no attention to this mopey idiot. Time waits for no man. Once we stake the vampire and behead Theresis, then you two can head off back to Kazdel and talk all over the interior decorating plans for your love nest.
Theresis. I've been thinking about this for a while, W. You may not like what I'm about to say, but I still have to say it.
Huh? Throwing cold water on me before the fight?
Pretty much. We can't kill Theresis, at least not right here or now. It can't be the Sarkas executing him.
Ines was right. Those illusions did scramble your brains.
Killing him means no Kazdel. Better now or for a good long while after the war, he has to be recorded as the regent, and even be praised by some.
Are you out of your mind? I really don't feel like joking about this.
We still need to stop the war, and I haven't changed my mind. But Theresis has taken his place as a cornerstone of the Sarka's future. Kazdel won't survive another split, and this war, it can't end with another Sarka's betrayal, with another Sarka's civil war. Remember the plan I was talking about before? We need the Sarkas here to pull out of Victoria before everyone hears about his death. Once everyone knows the Sarkas have failed, and the threat to Theresis is gone, what happens then? The Dukes will slaughter every last Sarkas in Victoria without mercy. Their revenge killings will spread to other countries in Centrum, and all civilization will have a justifiable excuse to exterminate the Sarkas. They'll put together a coalition, just and reasonable, swift and decisive, to divide up all of Theresis's and Theresis's legacies. Don't you picture that?
To be honest, I don't give a shit about any consequences of Theresis dying. All I'm here for is the part where he dies. Coalitions? Slaughtering Sarkas? Weren't they doing that already? Does Theresis dying mean all the devils are just gonna lose their will to fight back? No way! I don't buy that. He sent the assassins to kill Theresa, declared himself king, and dragged all of us into the mess we're in today. We don't need to sacrifice ourselves for his castle, for his...
Don't think you can keep yourself out of it, W. I thought I was gonna really let her have it, really tear into W, this sad woman. Do you think of yourself as nothing more than a merc? How many people have you brought, from Reunion to where we stand now? How many Sarkas have you gathered? You're carrying their lives on your shoulders.
I don't fucking care!
But W is wavering. I know her too well. It's not like she hasn't thought about it. She isn't an uncaring leader at all. Looking at it objectively, a whole lot of mercs have stepped up to follow this mad woman. You have to care. You think you can just keep on killing people, keep on burying bombs in the dirt? You're leading those Sarkas now. You have to think about how to deal with their hopes and dreams. You have to think through what their lives mean to you.
But I... It's not just Theresis. Don't forget, there's Theresa too.
So, from all perspectives, all we can be is their successors, the inheritors of their ideals. The two of them, they're the reason the Sarkas could come together in the first place.
That's not a real Theresa. That's a fake Theresis has cooked up. He can't fool me.
W. Look at yourself.
Who do you think you are?
You couldn't accept Theresa's death. You're stuck in the shadow of Babel. Like...
Shut up.
You think Amiya is walking ahead of you. You think she's Theresa's handpicked successor, that the king of Sarka should be thinking about this stuff. You look at her and see another Theresa. You think all you need to do is follow the king.
Shut up! Are you trying to gross me out?
You think you don't deserve to inherit anything.
What kind of sick joke is this? You think you get me? You're my mentor now? You're gonna raise me, teach me? Huh, Order? You're just a merc, not much higher on the ladder than me, but you're so deluded you can't stand up and call yourself a successor of whatever. So gross. The little bunny, I'm gonna follow her. He was in the right place at the right time to be chosen.
chosen by Theresa to become the leader of Rhodalan who stopped Reunion and Tallulah, who broke her way into Londinium today. So what about you, W? What exactly does Theresa mean to you? Some distant, ethereal symbol who once gave you a place to stay, one specific flesh and blood royal, or the path she stood for?
For this land to fall into peaceful slumber. So, that's what I say. That's why I say she's a fake. Ines, how have you managed to hold back from killing him this long? Because I'm not deluding myself. Most of the time. Spare me. Whatever, Hoarder. I know what I have to do, and I'm not going to kill you to shake up morale this time. You should be kissing my feet. Polish that sword of yours good. We've got a war tomorrow.
She ran off again.
Do you really think she could be a decent leader?
She's organized a whole lot of mercs.
Huh. Are they really mercs though? How much money does W have to hire them? And how much does she earn for them with the things she does?
Alright then, why are they following her? No matter what she says, whether it's revenge for Theresa, hunting down the assassins, or just randomly bombing her way across the land, she's definitely walked her path.
The ones who follow her really are sad. But people forget how young she is. She's got lots of room for improvement.
We can hope. Also, the startup capital for your shop, not a joke.
I know. The Exemplar is fully equipped. Some of the Londinium Self-Salvation Corps volunteered to join our team.
Yes, telling up the remnants of the various ducal forces we've gathered, refugees who want to join the fight, and these militiamen from the Self-Salvation Corps, we have the strength of roughly 6 or 7 platoons. Siege would best formally establish the military structure of the Exemplars, appointing officers such that our chain of command can...
Lieutenant Shearer, this team is not a true military unit. It is not the Victorian army. True, we have some soldiers. But aside from you and the remnants of the Duke Windermere's forces led by Delphine, the rest are ordinary folk who want to fight. Workers, farmers, merchants, and of course, street ruffians. Should we forcibly incorporate them into 1 or 2 combat units, arm them, and subordinate them to officers, then what is the difference between us and the Dukes? The Exemplars is a fine name, but I believe it should bring the people nothing but hope. Or to speak less grandly, it should bring the people something intangible, the likes of which the Duke's high-speed battleships can't bring. Which is to say, the Exemplars should not be a heroic force captained by the heir to the throne wielding the Realm Blade. I'm rather repulsed by such titles.
But then, how are we to organize our combat operations?
Speaking of combat operations, a considerable portion of our team has not undergone any regular military training. When in Londinium, do as the Londinianers do, eh? Just as we did in Catalay, just as the Self-Salvation Corps did in Londinium. We're killing the Sarkas in our familiar way, with our familiar friends. No offense, Sarkas.
None taken. No harm done. The ritual has been terminated, but the blessing bestowed on the Sarkas' blood has not completely gone with it. Over Londinium Way, ancient witchcraft stirs. Our mortal enemy operates with unknown purpose, but the urgency they reveal presents an opportunity for a breakthrough.
We will be extra cautious.
Then, let's snatch that bone back.
The plan was a success. The Victorian attack did distract a portion of the forces here. We're in, and it's here.
You are the suckers from last time? How did you... Is this a joint attack with the Victorians? Sorry. Kill the traitors! Kill these circus traitors! Ursula isn't here to welcome us.
Locust guessed right. Looks like she's too busy. You didn't let me come in last time. This sucker's huge! Can I blow it into 2 halves?
No, stay with the team.
Get under its spine and seize its operator.
Amiya.
Yes, I feel it. He's here.
I follow the Banshee's gaze to the shadow cast on the rock. A hint of blood invades my nostrils. Does the skeleton have veins? Alright then. And considering this was only a before scene, we move on to stage number 18. But before we do anything else, stage 17 and 18 have a mini-boss. It is the same mini-boss present on both stages, but as usual, when we have unique enemies, I like to include the stages themselves into the narration, so we will do just that. But because it's easier to set up, we shall do so on the standard environment difficulty, because this is just story. This is just for story, right? But before I also introduce the boss, we're gonna do the stage first. This is the team. It's pretty easy on this standard difficulty with these units. Vendela will not be doing anything in there, she's just there to get some trust. Yeah, as usual, I will let the stage run its course until the boss spawns in, and then I will leave it on normal speed until the boss is defeated. So, let's begin.
それが私たちの宿命でしょう。
Alright then. I don't think Ursula likes Monster much. But anyway, let us swap back to Adverse. So then, yes, the mini-boss that appears on both stages 17 and on stage 18 is Commander Ursula. Ursula, Lifebone's commander and the youngest major in the Kazdel Military Commission, fights not for any specific person or organization, but rather for the possibility that Kazdel can one day become a true country. Alright then, with that said, we move on to our cutscene for stage 18, and the title and description. Titled, Throw Out Your Chest. It says, March on, for victory we live, and for honor we die. Let's begin. In my wardrobe, I have a drawer specifically for collecting medals. The medal I received upon graduating from Sir Military College, the 15-year service medal from the Defense Forces, the Londinium Freedom Medal awarded to me by City Hall 4 years ago after quelling the chaos in the city. Deeper in the drawer are the remnants of a previous order passed down through my family. The emblem of the Viu Vanguard, a piece of brick from Lingonesse, and a golden cup awarded by His Majesty, Corsica I. The cup is now split into 2 pieces, and the etchings on top are unclear. However, I remember the layout of each pattern, and the expressions on each relief figure. This is all that my parents, my uncles, and my aunts, all that they hope for. The glory of Gaul, a glory that cannot be denied and would never fade. The cup is quite weighty. You should be able to sell it for a good price. The market for Gaulish pieces has always been brisk. Even if you just melt the thing and sell it as raw gold, it should be enough for you to easily buy an apartment in the finest part of any city. Here is the key to my home. Keep it. The things are in the wardrobe. Pick a place and start over. Forget everything that happened this past year. Call it a fleeting nightmare.
Sir, it was you who saved me when those Sarkas were chasing me. You hid me in the Defense Forces office. I should be thanking you. I'm no longer a member of the forces or your Gaulish compatriot. You didn't have to...
Take it. If you find anything else in the house you like, it's yours. The memories mean little to me anymore. You'll want to hide here for a while yet, until the situation stabilizes. The military commission has disarmed the defense forces. As it stands now, you are no different from the Victorian civilians to the Sarkas.
But our comrades are still outside. Some of them are unsettled. I want to save them all.
They've all been captured. I handed them over to the military commission myself.
You what?
The anger in his eyes deflates before he can reach a peak. A coward. I evaluated him as much in the past. He may have had some courage in battle, but ultimately, he is a coward. He survives here with me in ignominy. He can't be compared to those warriors who resist the Sarkas. He could never compare. Could I? I don't care. It's been a long time since I cared.
Sir, what are you going to do next?
Me? The Sanguine Ark of Vampires has been waiting for me for some time. Stay here. Wait until it's all done before you go. If you want to live, you'd best pray that when you open the door, the cheering you hear is Victorians, and not the devils. Cheering Victorians. The first thing that comes to my mind is, surprisingly, that Victoria will win. No, it's probably just a force of habit. Naturally, I hope that Theresis will win. That's the prerequisite to him restoring Gaul. All my sacrifices, all my betrayals, all my unforgivable sins were enacted in the service of Gaul. Yes, of course, I serve Gaul. I hope. Groups of people are led out by the Sarkas forces, heading for the city walls in the distance. The Sarkas intend to fortify Londinium, and I'm afraid the final battle lies right before us. Do they plan to defend the Victorian capital? Perhaps. Some of the men cast resentful glances at me. I know them. We once shared a toast. No one stops me. The Sarkas don't care where I'm going. Even if you open the door for a caged foul beast, where can it fly?
René Latour? I didn't expect to encounter you like this. This may be a good sign. At least you haven't been executed by the Sarkas. Do you have time to chat?
I know you. You're Clovicia, the little leader of the Cell Salvation Corps, yes? We've cleared out all your bases. The remaining forces should have all fled Londinium. Why are you still here?
Some of the thanks goes to the defense forces, and some go to Castor for keeping her promise. Her Trilby Asher did indeed ensure the smooth evacuation of the Cell Salvation Corps.
The Duke of Castor. I guessed your identity a long time ago, but now, no matter which of the dukes your vassal or puppet of, I no longer care. I may not know how capable you really are, but Londinium as she stands is no place for a rebellious child to be wandering around. Go back to your hiding place. Treasure the fact that the Sarkas have not caught you yet. I'll pretend I never saw you.
Letu, you've been cowering in Londinium for long enough. After losing contact with the Cell Salvation Corps, I quickly found new objectives to work on within Londinium. We were betrayed too, and I don't even know who the traitors were. But I don't have time to dwell on that. The situation within the city far surpasses our understanding of a nomadic city under occupation. What's happening now is something you won't find in the history books.
I know that better than anyone.
But have you seen what's going on outside the city? I've seen the Sarkas art circles, the red light in the sky, the war machines in their many forms, things unlike the military equipment of any ordinary nation. I've seen hexcrafters floating in midair, seizing control of the sky, forcing drones and arts alike to fail. I used to think the descriptions of the Sarkas military and the so-called Nachtzer were all tales, literally embellishments for horror's sake. I don't think that anymore. When death itself opens its doors, what man-made hell do we face?
And what of the dukes?
The ducal armies, they're resilient, grand, but they stand on the horizon out of reach. I suppose you may be feeling guilt and melancholy, perhaps mixed with a dash of pride? You ponder the cruel choices you've made, but your mission is now accomplished. I guess you proposed a deal to Theresis regarding the nomadic cities that once belonged to Gaul. Londinium is too small, she can't contain the Sarkas' ambition. He is simply using this place to provoke the expansionist lust of Terra's other powers. Do you honestly believe he cares at all for your Gaul? Londinium's fall is complete, but you are no fool. You see it. The military commission of Kassel has no intention of occupying Victoria.
Correct. I am no fool. I never once placed my hopes in Therese's keeping his word.
And yet you still had a hand in so many tragedies. Are you trying to create an opportunity, like what the Sarkas are doing to Kazdel? Perhaps this war will exhaust the ducal militaries, making space for the ghost of Gaul to return to the land of the living. But the question is, do you actually believe that, René Luton?
What else can I believe in? I've admitted my weakness. Do you need me to admit my stupidity, my despair, my irrelevance? What do you want from me?
Cooperation. The Self-Salvation Corps, those resisting the Sarkas, those struggling for survival among Victoria's nonsensical nobility, they all still have a chance. And that which you seek, your so-called Gaul, may also exist within that chance.
Gaul. Oh, Gaul. It seems you're still willing to fight. For a person like you, the dusty rubble is a platform from which to grab the next ledge. For you, those like you, for the military commission, you are strong enough to subvert the nation, to change the course of history, not to mention manipulate the fate of one or two men like me.
Enough of the self-pity. There is still much we can do before hell descends upon us. Whether you consider this a form of atonement or the beginning of a new struggle doesn't matter to me. But Leto, I hope we can...
Now then, oh great one, can you tell me how I might save myself? There it is. You haven't a clue yourself. Let me by.
You really won't turn back?
I won't.
Then I can't say I wish you well. Your hands are stained with the blood of so many, with the blood of my friends, and you carry on with such despicable decisions. René Luton!
That'll do then. Run along now, the Sarkas are coming. I still have to say goodbye. Selingonie Bignen Nazier alarm. Le cham de bataille charge de mertium à peine. Mais ce jour viendra, c'est certain. Pour juger à mort la sagressa. Pour juger à mort la sagressa. A view vanguard living in the city. Why is he the first thing to come to my mind at this moment? Name, rank, unit! Your baton is pressed against my waist rather harshly, sir. Farala, the report! Name, rank, and unit! Soldat! Ligonier Youth Vanguards. Dua, Regiment de la Garde Citat, Corporal Letu. My unit? Yes, your unit. I've never seen you before. You have. You've just forgotten, sir. Have I? L'Empereur, Sa Majesté, he ordered me to recover here, but I want to know what's happening on the front lines. Where is Monsieur, the Wicked Witch King? Did our fleet destroy him? I saw it on television. The Victorian Duke with the great big, huge beard. His army. Do they wish to betray Sa Majesté, our great Emperor? They will stab him in the back too? Sir, Londinium has fallen. Sabia! Good! I'll be promoted to the View Vanguard. It's not your time yet. You still need to prove yourself. He's nearly 90 years old. He's been not entirely there for quite some time, forgetting nearly everything. For decades, his mind has remained in the golden age when the Gaulishmen joined Corsica the First's march into Leithanion. The nurses always said he had only a year to live, but he's still here. He's lived to see Gaul become history. He's lived to Londinium teetering on the edge of her grave. Before I left the Defense Forces, I issued one last order to guarantee the safety of this sanatorium. This is the only thing I did for myself in my entire long service to the forces. I brought you a Rheims champagne from Lingonesse, your favorite. Have a seat, won't you? A fine drink, Corporal. Lingonesse ben de laden. Asham de bataille charge de mertium met a pen. Porsche amor la sacresa. When you sing that song, it's as if there never was any pain. As if you never aged a day. Notre pouce sera toujours glorieux. I've never seen Lingonesse. You told me again and again about those magnificent halls, the flourished road networks. Do you remember Golding, the girl who visited you with me so many years ago? She's dead. She died for this cruel, unshakable, blood-stained world. And I'm one of the murderers responsible for it all. I don't know what to feel for her. But she's gone. She's out of my sight. And she'll certainly never see me anymore. I'm frightened, sir. A girl called Amia says that all I've done was done out of cowardice. I once confessed to Golding that my only goal was to survive the ruin to come. But I still hope. Even if it's just a pretext, I still hope. That from the ruins a new Gaulishman will rise. No, that's not it. I wish Golding could keep on teaching the children under the sunshine, among the fragrance of the flowers. Her persistence was truly beautiful. But me, I'm the one who... I've done all I can, sir. It's tiring. Do you think we still have a future? He'd fallen asleep minutes ago. Right then. I draw my saber, a sword that once belonged to a Gaulishman. I think it might be better to let him remain in the dream before the Sarkas force their way in. At least, it'll be a splendid dream. But me, despicable man that I am, dare not reach out to pollute. The blood of the aged youth vanguard splatters my hands. The Prince of Blood himself, the sanguinarch of vampires, looks silently at the extravagant decor of the Victorian palace. The expression on his face could be described as serene. You came, Leto. Here I thought you'd find somewhere to hide. No, of course not. I was always going to come and find your highness. You seem spirited today. I'm pleased. Ever since that old Gaulish teacher of yours died, you've been quite the buzzkill. I made a bet with my children. They wagered that you were about to die. But I believed in you, Leto. Have a drink with me to the defeat of your enemies, the death of the nation of Victoria. I'll begin the ritual myself, bestowing the most ancient curse, the most tragic end. And so I will be leaving soon. Even my own kin don't enjoy such an honor. You should be grateful. You know, Your Highness, By the time I was born, Gaul's capital had already been razed by the Duke of Wellington and his despicable accomplices. A city annihilated as one breathes a sigh. Now it seems you will do the same to Londinium. Will you weep for her? I just didn't expect it. Duke Wellington dismantling an S, pulling those mobile plates apart. So silly, so boring, the Victorians. Would you like to settle the blood depth with your own hands? I admire your persistence. I could grant you such an opportunity. Your Highness is most magnanimous. I bow deeply, but I feel his gaze lingering on me. Pathetic. Mean, fickle, cowardly, self-righteous. Begging for mercy out of fear, self-destructing out of despair. But I'm still very curious about you. In the scheme of your insignificant life, we've spent quite some time together. Do you really think you can kill me, Leto? You won't. My very blood grips my heart. You may think to yourself, the Sarkis is so arrogant, so contemptuous. On the contrary, Leto, considering what I am about to see, I am positively filled with affection for you. You are a fool, yes, and despicable indeed. You should cherish your blood. At first I thought they might have some more interesting uses. Such hasty farewells between us. The Gaulish man's sword. I do my best to reach it. The despicable man's sword. Poor man. Keep trying, give it all you've got, and you just might reach the hilt. I'll grant. What is it you're trying to say? I am saying. The blade cuts across my throat. Cold, chilling. I see my filthy blood gushing from my neck. The crimson liquid stains his clothes and splashes his face. I'm saying, I'll grant you my blood, vile leech. You'll never boast about the purity of your blood ever again, because the despicable Renal Leto has polluted it! Before we continue, very quickly, I hope I'm not the only one who felt some chills go down my spine on that final moment, but damn, Leto, goddamn. Also, this was, up until this point, probably the last person I expected to have a POV of. But holy shit. At least he gave the Sanguinarch a big middle finger at the end. That's something at least. And at least he isn't a complete dickhead. But anyway, oh, and also, to anybody who is speaking French and listening to this, I am so sorry. I didn't want to say anything before going into the cutscene, but holy shit, I am so sorry if I butchered all of that French in there. I don't speak it, I just tried my best by, you know, literally learning how every single one of those words is pronounced individually, so hopefully I did a decent job, is all I'm trying to say. Hopefully I did a decent job, and I didn't anger anybody who is French. But if you are French, you can tell me how good or bad it was. Anyway, let us move on to the next stage, which is number 19, No cutscenes here, so only descriptions and title. Titled The Oseus Isle. The enemy is pushing through this corridor of bones. Defeat them. Simple. Moving on to stage number 20. Titled Sanguinary Billows. And it says, witness his arrogance. The cutscene takes place after the battle stage, so let's begin. How dull. Did you think this would anger me? Offend me? Did you think I would kick your corpse in anger? Curse your insolence? I'm not going to do any of that, Latu. René Latu. Insignificant man. Same as the land itself in my eyes. An annoyance. Did you think this act could give meaning to your pathetic life? Still so conceited, Latu. I won't give you another thought, not so much as a momentary glance. Theresis. Vampire. If memory serves, I have some sort of role in your hypocritical military commission. But I haven't seen a war report from you in quite some time. Nor have you attended any commission meeting in quite some time. You've always held the requisite command authority. Command authority? I don't need to command my offspring. They serve me naturally. They serve their court. Then you need to manage them better. The war's end approaches, and your underlings need to play a more significant role. Their wanton behavior waxes me. The Western Front is wasting time. This is necessary for the ritual. Without enough blood and tears, how are we supposed to gather enough material for the witchcraft? You and Theresa told me about the ancient door you found, covered in scabs. Is the source of all the Sarka's suffering, the origin of our fate, really behind that door? The preparations for the ritual are complete. But one of the nodes, the town of Brentwood, is under attack by our enemies. Are you dispatching me to resolve trifling nuisances for you, Theresis? Oh, that reminds me, oh revered regent of the military commission. Since the commission has noted this is such a crucial town, why did it not prepare any significant defense? No shrouded casters, meat puppets, or any haphazardly bewitched, flesh-woven brutes. I indulge you and your sister on account of your dazzlingly powerful souls. Weak Sarkas call you regent, and the Confessari have gathered around you, bringing Theresa back to you. The regent and the resurrected king of Sarkas, what a fascinating pair of siblings. But all of this owes to your actions, your power, not your status. Power. I have blessed this battlefield in order to cast the grandest of courses. I, in my benevolence, as head of one of the oldest of the courts, have awakened the power hidden within the blood of the Sarkas. And so, Theresis, have you felt it? Does my boon delight you? Oh, but how much power can be drawn from your mixed blood? The end is near. It's making you restless. conceal your weakness. Or shall I say, do you need a reminder or two?
I will complete the final part of the ritual for you, proud regent. But it is not in service of the narrow ambitions of you and your sister, eyes always fixed on the nomadic city bearing the false name of Kazdel. It's just another resting place in that painful river.
Theresa is ready. The shard will soon unleash a power that Victoria could never imagine. The skeleton is waiting in the hub outside the encampment. You can go from there to Brentwood.
Exciting, isn't it? Theresis, you always wear such dull, lifeless faces. I've seen it, a black light rising over the horizon like a wall of obsidian that will eventually found the real city. You mock my impatience, but isn't silence the best way to conceal your deepest thoughts? If only I could go back in time to see it for myself. If you really can retrieve the power that could reshape this great land, that which the Sarkas first reached out to touch, Originium, then I will, on your behalf, spread the name of Kazdel to every scrap of land I set foot on. The Sarkas, my people, have abandoned their past for too long. They hate, they curse, they swear revenge upon our enemies. So disappointing. My people have forgotten even the origin of their bloodline, forgotten the name of our ancestors. They mate in numbness and sorrow, giving birth to generations of hideous mixed-blood offspring. They throw themselves into the shadows of the nomadic cities, hiding in these streets, begging invaders for food. I've lost interest in Victorian blood, and the Sarkas who are satisfied with it, they infuriate me even more. From the moment Sarkas first called themselves Sarkas, from the moment this world alienated them, it's enough to drive one mad with rage. My prince, the drifting of the Faramund is about to end, and we will soon arrive at the way station near Brentwood. The town has been occupied by Victorians, and they are clearing out your creations. Creations? Those mindless insects are nothing more than a few drops of residual blood, carelessly spilled by children of the Crimson Court, while painting runes and crystals. Let the Victorians celebrate their victory. My mistake, forgive me, Your Highness. I look to the military commission's major, a Sarkas. Theresis has arranged so many children to wander outside the court in this system of his. You are called Ulshula. Yes, Your Highness. Your blood is mixed with too much alcohol. I can forgive hedonism and indulgence. But your hesitation disappoints. I can wash those away for you, Major. I am grateful for your benevolence, my prince, but I can handle myself. I will endeavor to do better. She bows her head. The nerves have gripped her. But at least these mixed-blood children understand how to resist, which compensates somewhat for their ignorance. Ulshula, Ulshula, Ulshula the Time Stealer, a popular household story. Ulshula has taken the reins of this particular skeleton. Amusing. Just a coincidence, Your Highness. When I took the name, I never thought I would really be any kind of hero.
Hero? Molshula was a coward. He couldn't even look directly into the eyes of this Faradmoot, daring only to hide in the turbulent currents it stirred up, making some of the people immersed in illusion. So I sent him on such a mission, of course, to save many people. Hollow murmurs echo throughout the space. What is it? Have recognized me at last? That silence. Its intelligence has long been stripped away. Only an empty shell remains to react.
My prince, we are nearly there. We may encounter some illusions.
No need to remind me. I've dealt with this one far more than you ever have. The Ashen Castle, sent to its doom in diabolic flames. They sweep through the tents of all the clans. I can hear the roar of the flames. I can hear the lamentations of the flames. Why are we still surrendering? Why are we still weak? Are you satisfied with this? Are you satisfied? Then I, on your behalf, my ancient kin can kneel and weep in the ruins. The king of Sarkas is dead. The king killed the king. I know he's just a ripple in the illusion. I know this is our unchangeable history. The Sanguine arc continues in ancient Sarkas. You worked hard to build this Ashen Castle, and the Sarkas have a home again. But doesn't its diminutive size infuriate you? The Outblood invaders deprived the Tikas of their ancestral land, so you started to compromise, shrinking and distorting that which stands for your home. To a plain, a circle of fields, until you can only call it your city, your village. This is the starting point of Sarka's weakness. And now I look back from the end point.
The illusions are over.
The skeleton has returned to its lair.
My prince, it is my duty to remind you that the forces in control of the Brentwood Core Art Circle are nearby. They may not be aware that the skeleton leaves a trace. Our return may have been exposed. Your power is undeniable, but among our enemies, there may be...
No matter. Have our enemies destroyed the ritual nodes? The battlefield art circles cast by the skeleton were merely the tendrils, extremities of the Crimson Cord's grasp. In any case, since we come to the end, allow me to personally stand as the center of this most ancient ritual. The sun is rising, and the first rays of blood, red, have already spilled through the damaged cave of devastation. A new day. But this day will be different from all the sorrowful days that have come before. Far Chaser, eh? The crowned hunter, our first king of Sarkas. If your soul still lingers among the myriad after thousands of years. Enough dark clouds have accumulated atop the spire known as the Shroud. The foolish Victorians see this storm as nothing more than a spear to be thrown. How shallow their inherently corrupt nature
always inclined toward conflict. I close my eyes, feeling the art circles composed of blood-red crystals, feeling all the blood that has flown through this land since the war. No, since we degraded ourselves into Sarkas. They tremble at my mercy, they boil at my call. If you watch us yet, the descendants of your lost homeland, if those distant legends that have been distorted and painted over are not lies, then let the suffering in that cradle descend again. Let us reclaim the lost fate of the Tikas. A drop of blood drips from my eye. It flows down my face. Such a distant voice answers me. It's as if I could reach out and touch it. That door, long buried in dust and smoke, is slowly loosening. The storm over Londinium is playing a new movement. It seems something is missing. A loud noise. As we thought, the Victorians are attacking here. We will do what we can to buy you time to complete the ritual, my prince. The Victorians? Huh. Theresis, you really have surprised me. No, girl called Ursula. We are not facing any such Victorians. Our guests deserve to witness this moment. Another pure blood, still a young Nell, and the usurper king of Sarkas. No matter who they are, the military commission's plan must be executed. I'll strengthen my connection with the Faranmut as much as possible in order to prevent them from reaching this place. My prince, please. You have no standing from which to advise me. I do so want to see what clichés they will spout at me this time. What moments of despair they can show me. Now then, Major, you stay here. This dispensable work of yours is over. How many years have these hollow skeletons gone unfilled? 4 centuries? 5? At the time I was not yet master of the Crimson Court. At the time I could still hear the arrogant whispers of the putrid War King. I could hear the sounds of the arch liar of Djal torturing the night away. At the time, even if the vampires were hostile to them, these mighty souls surging with hatred and faith made my heart swell. At the time, these Sarkas were already a scattered people with no home to call their own, but at the time I could see the remnants of their proud souls. Ruin. A sea of blood devours the curse. Are you still toying with these pathetic words, these false curses, Banshee? Why don't you face the power that truly belongs to you, the power gathered in your blood? Isn't the elegy you can sing now so much more melodious? Alas, you are silent, never to open your mouth. Vampire, what is it you are trying to reach? This is no ritual recorded in Sarka's literature. What is it calling? I think I see a seed. You're trying to awaken it with millennia-old witchcraft to nourish it with the art circles on the battlefields and control it with the storm over the shroud. You must be stopped. You'll destroy Londinium. It'll be nothing but a heap of rubble full of originium. No, not only that. At this scale, with this much power, I can even see... The revenge of the Sarkas will drag all of Terra into the abyss.
Revenge. Cautus, you still claim to be the king of Sarkas, but your views are so biased. 200 years ago, a coalition of Terran nations destroyed Kazdal once. And now, do you think we would bring pain and destruction to Victoria as simple vengeance for their conquest 2 centuries ago? I am disappointed once again. The black crown lingers over your head, and indeed, this is yet another ridiculous thing wrought by the king of Sarkas. Killing an enemy and butchering a country, burying a city and annihilating a culture. These things are not different. For the Sarkas, these are far from enough to be called resistance. We've come to Londinium, this outlaw capital, not for any kind of retaliation. Seed? Not a bad description. Watch and see what sights the seed will bring. You're a narrow-minded one, vampire. No flowery words can change the nature of what it is you're doing. You call me silent? Rest assured, vampire, you will hear me speak. Feathers fall heavy on your body. Amiya. The black crown appears over the Outblood's head. A black spear pierces my scapula.
What? So easy? No, it's not.
Fresh blood gushes out. The king of Sarkas has opened a wound for me. This is the blood so preciously bestowed to me and my ancestors for millennia. I carefully select the blood of my choice. The masters of the Crimson Court have a responsibility to, day after day, wipe away even the most minute hint of impurity. But the reason we are so pure is not that this bloodline has never been lost, never been defiled, but because I finally found it. A drop of blood. It has been passed down through the millennia. Tika's blood. The land falls silent, the rivers stagnate, the air moans. The entire world turns solemn. As I reach out my hand, it floats slowly in front of me. It does not drip. It only goes up, up.
His blood! He's going to complete the ritual!
Tika's blood is now gone from our world. The incantation left in Londinium was just destroyed in an instant. What's happened in Londinium? Amiya, end this battle quickly. I feel some kind of... Don't be so hasty, honored guests. Blood crawls over the bones. Bloodstains emerge from the decay. It's just such a great opportunity. In the sight of the first curse, perhaps today we can bid farewell to the last king of Sarkas. Speaking of unexpected POVs, who had a POV of the Sanguinarch on their bingo card? Be honest. This sent me for such a ride when I realized. Funny thing, I wonder, for those of you who have read this before watching this here on the channel, how many of you did immediately recognize who the POV is from? Just either by the background or considering it's in the same place as Letu, or simply by the first two words on screen. That sent me spinning. But anyway, this was definitely a POV, and stuff seems to be happening. So let us proceed into stage 13-21. Oh, before we do so, I almost forgot. I have one thing to do to show you very quickly. I wonder how many of you also realized this. So, once again, the title for stage 20 is Sanguinary Billows. But if you go into the cutscene and you hit skip, it says Hammerheel Billows. Okay, I need to ask. If anybody knows if this means anything, please tell me. Because when I was looking it up, and when I look this stuff up, I usually take the word and I put the word meaning next to it, or depending on if it's a name like history or myth or whatever the hell, whatever I'm looking at, trying to get like specific prompts from Google back. However, when I put Hammerheel into Google with the word meaning, all I got back from Google is, did you mean hemorrhoids? I think Hypergriff is trying to wink hint at us that the Sanguinarch has maybe hemorrhoids, and that's why he's so stuck up. Poor bastard. For who knows how long and thousands of years, this guy could not sit down. Sucks to be him. But yeah, anyway, in all seriousness, if that word means anything, if it's just meaning sanguinary, do tell me, but I just found that super funny. That made me laugh so much when I realized. But yeah, anyway, we move on to stage 13-21. The Archon in Sanguine. Regions Crimson. Iron upon the Nameless Sea. Let's begin with the before part. For a few moments, perhaps more than a few moments, no Sarkas dare to speak. It takes away all things, and shapes all things. What is that? The blessing the Sanguinarch left the Sarkas hasn't faded, but just now... Could the doctor have been talking about... Blood rises from the spine of the Faramut, apparently only a drop, but it draws all eyes. It leaves the intertwined bones dancing in the dim cave, rising in the freshly sprinkled sunlight. A drop of blood, just one drop of blood. Pure blood. Glorious blood. It has been wounded, it has been betrayed, it has been forgotten, to the point of being spurned. For millennia, the land called it a disaster, treated it as an enemy, trampled it until it abandoned its glory and defiled its body. Tikas became Sarkas, their homeland lost. Today, the blood of those with a homeland returns from history. All men across the lands should pay tribute to it. The bead of blood dissolves, and silence reigns. No explosions, no vibrations, no grand visions or chaotic whispers. Even if blocked by the hills, all eyes turn toward Londinium. At this point, all the storms called by the Shard feel like nothing but harmless drizzle. Now what gathers atop the tower can no longer be called just a dark cloud. The storm has become a cradle.
Hodor, W, look alive. Do it! W, where are the bombs you buried? Hit your detonator now! Don't have to tell me twice. No guesses, Hodor. We only take on opponents we know we can handle.
I know. W's bombs tore through the defensive line. We've got a breakthrough. Tangled with them way too long. Ami and Logos went on ahead of us. They'll deal with the worst of our troubles. As for the others, follow the path they cleared and climb the Faramut's bones with those gangways. Damn it, these guys! Don't let them get any further. Commander Ursula is pulling up the gangways. The trembling nerve bundles begin to close and the bone gangways start to drift. The Faramut has decided not to let anyone walk on its spine. The traitors die here! We'll take their corpses to the tent of the Naxxter King to nourish our next victory! Huh?
Buried minds under the bones. Feels pretty good. Hodor, Ines, get ready. Shockwave incoming.
The rising airflow of the grand explosion sends the three mercenaries into the air. Hodor adjusts his posture with some effort, looking down to see the cave being engulfed in flames. The Faramut seems to sense something. It swings its body, its white tailbone slashing at the three like a whip. W, 3 grenades, downward diagonal.
Good idea. This is the last time I play along with your explosive shenanigans.
The red-haired Sarkas kicks up dust and the black-haired Capernae weaves darkness. The scraps form beams and the shadows form steps. An invisible staircase, stinking of gunpowder, spirals upward and pierces the chest cavity of the hovering skeleton. The mercenaries rush into its hollow interior.
This way to the core of the skeleton. Our target is Ursula. Find her and we get control of this thing we're walking on. Are you too sure we can get this skeleton? Sounds a little reckless, almost like robbing a caravan.
We have to, otherwise Ami and Logos are fighting for nothing.
So we open the car door, toss the driver out, grab the keys, bam, my car now.
Did you see the illusions this thing made, moving between its bones? You still haven't figured anything out. This isn't some obscure story.
Should I have figured something out?
I forgot, you don't care to learn history. A few hundred years ago, the Sarkas killed a Faramut that almost destroyed Kosnel. After it fell, there were various claims as to where it ended up, and one of those was that its consciousness didn't die with it, that it was split up, sealed into a bunch of different items. Now it seems that claim was probably at least partially true. As for the unconscious shell, it was carefully collected before this war. They spent a lot of effort to modify it, and sure enough, it's playing a big role in the war for the military commission.
Different items, huh? Ursula never carried a pocket watch before, not like she was ever on time in the Scar market. But if her watch is holding the Faramut's consciousness, it's probably already very fragmented. The skeleton we're standing on isn't exactly dead, but it doesn't have much more than basic nerve reflexes. Ursula can only guide those basic reactions. We just need to pay more attention to them.
A rain of bolts falls through the gaps in the bones, followed by the eerie glow of Sarka's witchcraft.
Take cover! Just avoid the nerve bundles that can strike at you, and watch out for sudden bone spear thrusts. Nothing to worry about. After all, this fella's been stripped down to nothing but bleached bones. But there's still you, Ursula. You're more dangerous than this half-dead Faramut. Done with your important work? I might be, if you weren't here to bother me. Is this bitch the commander here? She's pretty rough on her own skeleton. Those bolts are all stuck in those bones now. Want me to help pull them out? I've got pretty handy method.
It's a psycho!
Trying to kill my man right in front of me? Hodor, you think too little of me.
Dangerous and chaotic power gathers in Ursula's fingertips as she prepares to cast her arts. But a moment before she can cast, a black shadow crawls up her ankle. Ursula has to take a step to the right in order to shake off the persistent entanglement of the shadow. Her arts go out of control and a red glow shoots out from the damaged seams of the spine. The sound of a muffled explosion booms from the distant cave wall.
You've gotten rusty, Ursula. I guess you've been doing well for yourself in the scar market. You're a bunch of survivors, I'll give you that. Back in Kazdal I made quiet bets with the old-timers on how many of you would actually collect on those jobs you were taking. As long as I bet on Hodor, Ines, and later the Psycho W, I always made money. Sounds to me like you owe us a big cut. That's the famous sharp tongue on this W. Haven't you learned anything from Ines? This time, though, you took a wrong turn. 2 kings of the royal court are here, going all out, not to mention the king of Sarkaz. This place is never gonna be a safe haven where you can escape the war. Not the kind of place you can survive.
What about you? You heard about Theresis' trump card in Lindenium. Assuming the consequences out there are way beyond anything anyone's ever seen before, you still think it's a fair price to pay for the Sarkaz to rebuild Kazdal?
That's enough chit-chat. Soldiers, end them here, while there's still time.
Major, look! On the bones there! Blood crawls along the bones, creeping toward them. Blood is filling the place, overflowing the damaged gaps, connecting the long, cold body.
It's the Sanguinarch. Looks like he's ready.
It begins to grow warmer. Power accumulates in the bones again, the spine sways left and right, audibly creaking. The Faramut resumes its rowing. So much blood. Ursula, where did all this blood come from?
As if you need to ask. It's courtesy of that homicidal Sanguinarch. He slaughtered the place clean. No, their wrists.
Ursula and her men all have bleeding wounds on their wrists. Drip, drip. It starts as beads of blood, then turns into ribbons, then rivets. How much blood is in a human body? The blood flowing out of the guards joins with the bloodstains spreading over the bleached bones. I offer your highness my blood, Prince of the Crimson Court. May you hunt unimpeded.
Let our blood form for you a swift chariot. Ursula, stop. Have you lost your marbles?
The Faramut, it's about to move again. The currents of history might be about to sweep this place away.
That bitch wants to go down with us! I am not controlling it. Blood has replaced muscle, tendons and marrow. Isn't that enough to control it?
The guard's exposed skin is now visibly pallid.